6 things to cut out of your life secretly. You ever feel it? That invisible weight that seems to hold you back? You set goals, you make plans, but it's like you're wading through thick mud. You feel stuck, circling the same frustrations and anxieties, but you can't quite put your finger on why. Here's a secret. This isn't about not trying hard enough. It's about not seeing what's really going on. There are silent saboteurs running in the background of your life. They aren't loud, obvious enemies. They're quiet habits, ingrained ways of thinking, and subtle attachments that drain your energy and poison your potential from the inside. They're why you feel exhausted after a full night's sleep or doubt yourself when you should feel confident. But what if you could dismantle these forces, piece by piece, without drama or a grand announcement? What if your freedom wasn't a revolution, but a quiet, internal evolution? The ancient Stoic philosophers, people like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, were masters of this art. They knew the biggest battles aren't fought out in the world, but inside our own minds. Their wisdom isn't about adding more to your already full life. It's about the incredible power of subtraction. Today, we're uncovering the 6 silent habits that are secretly holding you back and learning how to use the timeless wisdom of the Stoics to finally and quietly break free. This isn't about becoming a new person overnight. It's about becoming the person you were always meant to be once the unnecessary weight is gone. So if you're ready to stop fighting shadows and start turning on the lights, let's get into it. The first silent saboteur is one that dictates the emotional weather of your entire day.
Section 1. The Chains of Excessive Emotional Reactivity. The first thing to secretly cut from your life is excessive emotional reactivity. This isn't just about big, explosive anger. The real problem is much quieter. It's that knee-jerk defensiveness you feel over gentle criticism. It's the knot of anxiety in your stomach when a plan changes. It's how one negative comment can hijack your whole day, replaying on an endless loop. When you're this reactive, you're not in the driver's seat anymore. You're a puppet, and your strings are being pulled by every external event, every careless word, every minor inconvenience. The harm here is subtle but profound. It's exhausting. Living in a state of constant emotional flux is a mental marathon every single day. You make bad decisions because impulse, not reason, is in charge. You say things you regret, damaging relationships and your own self-respect. You've basically outsourced your peace of mind to a world you can't control. When you give in to negative emotions, you surrender your power. So how do you cut this out secretly, where the real work happens? The Stoics gave us the ultimate tool, the power of the pause. The great philosopher Seneca gave this simple, life-altering advice. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. He wasn't saying to suppress your feelings, but to observe them. Your secret action is to create a tiny space between a trigger and your response. When you feel that surge of anger or anxiety, you don't have to act on it. Pause. Take one deep breath. In that pause, ask yourself the question the philosopher Epictetus built his entire philosophy on. Is this within my control? The comment someone made? Nope. The traffic jam? Not in your control, but your response. That is always in your control. Think of your mind as a calm lake. Every event is a pebble tossed in. Reactivity is letting that small ripple grow into a tidal wave. The pause is watching the pebble land, observing the ripples and letting them settle on their own. No one has to know you're doing it. It's a silent act of rebellion against the tyranny of impulse. As you practice this, the world will no longer have the power to dictate your inner state. you will start to feel the quiet strength of someone who is the master of themselves. As Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. This secret practice is your first step to real freedom. Once you start reclaiming your emotional responses, you'll find that much of that reactivity was fueled by the second saboteur. This one is even more personal because it lives entirely inside your head.
Section 2. The Prison of Negative Thought Patterns. The second thing to secretly eliminate is indulging in negative thought patterns. This is your relentless inner critic, the catastrophizer who turns a small problem into a disaster, the fortune teller who predicts failure before you even start. These aren't just thoughts, they are well-worn grooves in your mind. You might tell yourself you're just being realistic, but you're actually building a prison of perception and locking yourself inside. The harm is devastating because these thoughts don't just describe your reality, they create it. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." He knew that your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. If your mind is constantly colored by fear, doubt, and self-criticism, your life will take on that same shade. You'll see threats instead of opportunities. You'll suffer more in your imagination than you ever do in reality, as Seneca famously observed. So how do you dismantle this prison, brick by silent brick? The Stoic solution isn't to fight the thoughts, but to critically examine them. You have to become a detached observer of your own mind. Epictetus taught that events themselves don't disturb us, but our judgments about them do. The event is neutral. The story you tell yourself is what causes the pain. Your secret action is to question your own narrative. When a negative thought pops up, instead of just accepting it, quietly challenge it. Ask yourself, is this thought objectively true? Is it helpful? Is this an opinion or a fact? As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have the power to revoke this judgment at any moment. A great technique for this is called the view from above. Imagine floating out of your body, looking down on the situation from a great height. See yourself, the other people, the whole scenario as just a tiny dot on a huge landscape. From up there, does the problem still feel so all-consuming? This silent exercise creates distance. It separates you from the thought and lets you see it for what it is, a fleeting mental event, not a hard reality. Think of your mind as a garden where you've let weeds of negativity grow wild. You don't need to announce you're starting to garden. You just quietly, day by day, start pulling the weeds. You see a thought like, "I'm going to fail," and instead of watering it with belief, you gently pull it out by questioning it. Each time you do this, you're making space for flowers to grow.
As you start to master your inner world, you'll become more sensitive to what's happening in your outer world. This brings us to the third saboteur, one that often hides behind loyalty and history.
Section 3. The slow poison of draining connections. The third thing to secretly cut from your life is the energy you give to toxic relationships. Toxic doesn't just mean overt abuse or drama. The more common saboteurs are the slow poison connections. They're the friends who are chronic complainers, leaving you feeling drained. They're the relatives who give backhanded compliments or subtly undermine your goals. They're the colleagues who thrive on gossip. These connections might not be openly harmful, but they are energy vampires, siphoning away your time, focus, and well-being. The harm is a slow erosion of your spirit. Surrounding yourself with cynical or stagnant people anchors you to that same low tide. Seneca was blunt about this, writing, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." He knew our company shapes our character. Holding on to draining connections out of guilt or obligation is like trying to sail a ship with the anchor down. Cutting these ties doesn't need a dramatic confrontation. The Stoic approach is much more elegant, the gradual and quiet fade. You aren't announcing a breakup, you're just reallocating your energy. You slowly create distance. You take a little longer to text back. You become less available for those draining calls. You don't need excuses, you simply become busy. Busy investing that reclaimed energy in yourself, your goals, and in relationships that actually lift you up. Think of your life as a ship on an important voyage. Some people are crew members who help you navigate. Others are just dead weight, slowing you down. You don't have to throw them overboard with a splash. You can quietly reduce the weight. Over time, they'll find another ship to weigh down. This isn't cruel, it's self-preservation. It's a quiet choice to protect your peace and prioritize your journey. As you create more space in your life, you'll have more energy for your goals. But that energy is useless if it's blocked by the fourth saboteur, a habit that kills self-respect more than any other.
Section 4. The rust of inaction and indiscipline. The fourth thing to quietly eliminate is procrastination and a lack of discipline. This is the habit of, "I'll do it later." It's the mountain of unstarted projects and the book you've been meaning to read for years. Procrastination is more than just bad time management. It's often rooted in fear or perfectionism. But its most corrosive effect is on your relationship with yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you cast a vote against your own competence. You teach yourself that your goals don't matter and your word can't be trusted. The harm is a slow rust that eats away at your self-respect. A lack of discipline doesn't just mean you fail to achieve things, it means you fail to build internal strength. The Stoics saw discipline as the foundation of freedom. To drive home the need for action, they used the powerful reminder, memento mori, remember you will die. This wasn't meant to be grim, it was a call to arms. Your time is finite. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. So, how do you beat this without getting overwhelmed? The secret is to stop thinking about a life of discipline and start with a single secret action. This is about breaking things down into their smallest parts. Forget the huge goal, focus only on the very first step. The secret technique is the 5-minute contract. Whatever you're putting off, make a private deal with yourself to work on it for just 5 minutes. Anyone can do anything for 5 minutes. Set a timer and just start. Often, starting is the hardest part. After 5 minutes, you might just keep going. But even if you don't, you've still won. You kept your promise to yourself. You laid one brick. Building discipline is like building a great wall. You don't get paralyzed by the size of the task. You focus only on the brick in your hands. Your entire world becomes about laying that one brick perfectly. Then you pick up the next. This is discipline in its purest form. A quiet, daily practice. You are silently building a monument of self-respect, one brick at a time. Transition. As you act with more discipline, a new danger appears. It's the temptation to look outside for approval, which brings us to our fifth and most seductive saboteur.
Section 5. The hunger for external validation. The fifth thing to secretly cut from your life is the overemphasis on external validation. This is that nagging need for approval. It's checking your phone for likes, changing your opinion to fit in, or measuring your success by the applause you get from others. We've been conditioned to think our worth is a number, followers, likes, comments. The harm is that you outsource your self-worth. You hand the keys to your happiness over to other people whose opinions are fickle and completely out of your control. You start making choices based on what will look good instead of what aligns with your values. You become an actor in a play instead of the author of your life. Marcus Aurelius was baffled by this, writing, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." To break free, the Stoics offer their most powerful principle, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that we must relentlessly separate what's up to us from what isn't. What people think of you or whether they praise you is not up to you. What is up to you is your intentions, your actions, and your integrity. The secret action is to create and live by an internal scorecard. Society gives you an external one based on status and popularity. You have to consciously reject it. Define your own values, your own definition of a job well done. Did I act with integrity? Did I do my best, regardless of the outcome? At the end of the day, judge yourself by this internal scorecard, and this scorecard alone. Think of it like this. Are you a mirror or a lamp? A mirror only reflects the light shown on it. When the room is dark, the mirror is dark. The Stoic goal is to be a lamp. A lamp generates its own light. It shines regardless of who is there to see it. Its purpose is to be light, not to be seen. You stop asking, what will they think? And start asking, am I living by my own light? When you do this, you become unshakable. Applause becomes a nice but unnecessary bonus. When you're no longer driven by others' opinions, you're free to chase bigger goals. But this is exactly when the final silent saboteur appears, a shadow that freezes so many people in their tracks.
Section 6. The paralysis of the fear of failure. The sixth and final thing to secretly cut out is the debilitating fear of failure. This isn't healthy caution, it's paralysis. It's why you don't apply for the dream job or start the business. It's the voice whispering, "What if you make a fool of yourself?" It's safer to just stay put. This fear pretends to be a friend, but it's really a thief. It robs you of experience, growth, and the chance of success. By trying to avoid failure, you accidentally avoid life itself. The Stoics had a radical approach to fear. Premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This isn't anxious worrying. It's a strategic, negative visualization. The secret action is to conduct a fear rehearsal. Quietly in a journal or your mind, you don't run from the fear. You walk right into it. Ask, what's the absolute worst-case scenario if I try this and fail? Get specific. You might lose money. You might be embarrassed. Now, for each of those outcomes, continue the rehearsal. How would you cope? What steps would you take to recover? You'll almost always discover that the imagined catastrophe is far worse than the practical reality. The worst-case scenario, while unpleasant, is survivable. Seneca practiced this constantly, robbing potential misfortunes of their power by facing them in his mind. By mentally rehearsing adversity, you strip fear of its greatest weapon, the unknown. Think of a pilot in a flight simulator. They don't just practice perfect landings, they deliberately simulate engine failures and turbulence. They aren't hoping for a crash, they're preparing for one, so they can respond with logic instead of panic. Your fear rehearsal is your personal flight simulator. By secretly imagining failure, you prove to your mind that you can handle it. And once you know you can handle the worst, you are finally free to aim for the best.
We've walked through the mind's hidden corridors and uncovered the 6 silent saboteurs: emotional reactivity, negative thoughts, draining relationships, procrastination, needing external validation, and fear of failure. These aren't enemies you can fight with force. They are patterns you must dissolve with wisdom. As the Stoics taught, freedom isn't about adding more, but about quietly taking away what no longer serves you. By practicing the pause, you reclaim your emotional control. By questioning your thoughts, you dismantle your mental prison. By fading from draining connections, you protect your energy. By keeping tiny promises to yourself, you build unbreakable self-respect. By using an internal scorecard, you anchor your worth in something no one can take away. And by rehearsing your fears, you rob them of their power. None of this requires an announcement. Real transformation needs commitment, not an audience. It's built in the silent moments of choice. This is the quiet work that leads to a loud life, a life of purpose, resilience, and deep inner peace. If this resonated with you, show your support by liking and subscribing for more practical wisdom. And now I invite you to share in the comments below, which of these 6 silent saboteurs do you recognize most in your own life? And what is one small, secret step you can take this week to start cutting it out? Your journey might be the quiet inspiration someone else needs to begin their own. Thanks for watching. Remember, the strength you're looking for isn't out there to be found, but within you, waiting to be uncovered.